Howdy, howdy, American Texan here, and I love comic books, specifically reading comic books. And today I want to talk about the books that I read this week from Marvel and DC, the big two. If this is your first time here, we're going super casual today, no face cam because I am switching studios. So we're just going to focus on the beautiful art in the books that we have this week. There are some good books, there are some great books, and there are some okay books. There wasn't a book that I read this week from Marvel or DC that really just kind of left me with a bad taste in my mouth. So this will be a little bit more rough, but let's get into it. Starting with Marvel, we've got The Punisher versus Amazing Spider-Man #2. #1 really surprised me. Dan Abnett is more hit than miss for me, but I was really surprised with the recent miss that he had. So I came in here with a little bit of a pause, but issue 1 was really good. And issue 2 just continues to capitalize on top of what they're setting up here. So similar to the Punisher and Daredevil miniseries they did earlier a few months ago, this one really focuses in on the moral dilemmas that you have as a vigilante. They do mention Spider-Man just webs them up and leaves them for the police, and then they escape, and there's more innocents that are harmed or even killed. I think even Punisher says how many murders are on your hands. And so it's a really good dynamic. And Peter, doesn't really give in to the Punisher's way, or at least entertain it, but he does question his own, which I think is a really nice, subtle way to do it. So there's a little bit of talking in this one. I don't care too much where every comic of modern day has a let's sit down in a cafe and talk it over scene. Yep, there it is right there. But it is interesting dialogue. At least it's good dialogue that keeps me interested. And you have this outside perspective from a retired police chief or police captain. I don't know. Who is on the Punisher side. And it's really well done as far as how they make you think and see Punisher versus Spider-Man. And it's a little bit of, Spider-Man is this white cape hero and Punisher is the gray cape. And the Punisher goes through less than legal means to try to get information, whereas Spider-Man has to rely on the stuff that he hears on the police scanner. Really well done. Really enjoyed it. Obviously, my favorite Marvel read of the week because it was my only Marvel read of the week. On to DC, I did read 4 books. Let's actually start in numerical order here. So we'll just put this one in the back. There we go. Okay. So starting with DC, Deathstroke, the Terminator. I had mentioned that this was kind of a make or break for me, and this was probably more mid. I'm going to give the next issue another shot. It wasn't enough to make me off board, but this was definitely more mid for me. It did pick up better than the last 2 issues have. This is one of those where it seems like the writing really nails this logic, but doesn't nail their ethos, I think is the word I'm looking for, ethos or emotion. Like logically it makes sense, but you just don't feel why they're doing it. The art continues to be really good, and Tony Fleece normally writes really well and just really resonates with me, but this one just seemed a little forced. It felt, and by the way, look at that cool art there. It felt like it was more of a mandate than something he wanted to write. It just felt like it was missing a little bit of spirit, a little bit of soul inside capturing. There is one piece here where he, has a little bit of a father moment. And those father moments usually get me, but this one just felt a little short. Not enough to get me to unsubscribe because, again, the first 3 issues were just banger. They were so good. There was mystery, intrigue, thrill. And then once they revealed the main villain, it wasn't a villain that resonated with you. And I'm not saying that you have to understand or empathize with what the villain is. I think that's a dangerous line that we cross too often these days. But you either got to be a mad villain like the Joker or the Riddler, or you have to be like a makes sense villain, kind of like Thanos. Like you can understand where they're coming from, even though it's wrong. And this one just didn't hit. It was too much of either. This is why this is not a comic review show. This is just let's talk about the comics. And maybe y'all can help me find the words I'm looking for. Lobo #6. This was an absolute delight. And look, I always say I'm more of a reader than an artist enjoyer. There are some times when the art is I don't even want to say poor. It's just done in such a style that I don't care for it. But this one, sometimes I open it and I'm like, I'm ready for the art in this one. So I should be reading the credits here. So let me pull those up. This is by Scotty Young and art by Riley Rossmill. This is a Lobo getting a contract to kill the Tooth Fairy or renegotiate a contract with the Tooth Fairy. He's working on behalf of the television cable company, whatever, Intergalactic Television Cable Company. It's funny. This guy kind of reminds me of Trump, but they don't do it if it is a Trump allegory, they don't do it in a cheesy roll your eyes way. It's still pretty funny. So props to that. And if it wasn't intentional, if it's just supposed to be generic TV, corporate, whatever, like, okay, fine. But maybe that's just me then. But yeah, I thought it was good. Anyways, The call to action was pretty good. And then, of course, when Lobo goes down to hell to finding the Tooth Fairy because the fairies are bad, right? Again, we just get more and more of the background jokes. So we've got like the Waffle House, it's the Waff Hell House. John Constantine's just randomly in here. I think that's Etrigan, right? Is that right? I don't know who that is. That can't be the Spectre? I don't know who that is. But yeah, there's just lots of great background jokes that really slow you down. I think if you just read this book, you would probably read it in 5 minutes. But I mean, you can sit here and spend 20 minutes with this book. It's just so funny with the way it's illustrated and the jokes that are inserted. And then, yeah, I mean, it's a really funny idea the way that they, of course, kind of change how the Tooth Fairy is. Right here, she is, and it's almost a very Scotty Young-esque villain. It kind of reminds me of that Western whatever with the chick that can't die, or the chick that had cancer and went to hell to fight. Man, someone remind me what that was called by Scotty Young. Yeah, and that was really good as well. Anyways, it's done in that kind of style, and it's really funny. This one, again, I say read it more like a comedy than a superhero comic, and you have a really good time. All right, on to End of Life. This is written by Kyle Starks and illustrated by Steve Pugh. This one felt a little bit like a filler. This is issue 7. It felt more like a filler. I don't know if it's supposed to start a new arc or maybe if they're doing 8-issue arcs. We get a little bit of the bad guy, the Walt Disney-esque character. I don't know if it's supposed to be Walt Disney-esque, but he's the cartoonist that went to jail for CP. And yeah, anyways, so we get some more stuff here with the main character's dad. He's, of course, getting beat up by the little guy, the funny little guy here that doesn't talk and is very perverted. It's really well done humor. But at the end of the issue, once you read it, you're kind of like, I don't know if I learned anything or if anything really progressed. He's still in that initial situation. So that was the only reason I didn't give it like higher points, because nothing really happens. All that really happens is this dude shows up, and I won't do any spoilers. So yeah, it's just kind of a filler issue. But again, good art, and I was still laughing. I was still laughing and enjoying. So for a filler issue, it was still pretty good. But this one itself definitely felt like it was written for the trade rather than a single issue. And then we got Kingdom of Zod, Superman Unlimited, issue 16, Kingdom of Zod, number 3. I do not care for this mini-series event. This feels very cluttered. And even though this issue is good, I thought the issue was well done. The whole, everything going on, there's just almost too much. It feels like they're trying to cram too much to resolve some of the Superman storylines from the Age of Superman, or what is it, the Reign of Superboys. So this is by Dan Slott, illustrated by Rachel Stotts. The art is good in this one. The writing, I think, is okay enough for how much they're trying to cram in here. And then we get some battles here, and there's a little bit of, I don't want to spoil too much, but just some of the way that they kind of resolve some ongoing Superman storylines. Like, for example, Superman being gone and his first interaction with Lois after coming back. I think Lois nailed her part, but Superman didn't nail his part. In how you kind of desire that super reuniting to be. The action was okay, but again, it just feels like they're trying to do too much. It feels like everything was kind of just sped up to try to get through this in 4 issues. And then, and not only that, I don't care for the events where every issue of the mini event is written by a different person in their own book. I understand why that happens, but it just creates a lot of weird differences between the two. I'm not too much of a fan of when they have different writers do the different books of the series. I get the understanding, or I understand and I get why they do that. Like, they want each writer to write the piece of the series in the book that they're currently ongoing writing, but it just creates too much of a disconnect. I didn't read the Supergirl issue, but I read the part 2 that came out. I think it was in Action Comics, and then now I'm reading part 3. And just between those two, the writing style is just very different. So I wish it was just like its own mini. Like, what was the one from a couple years ago before Absolute Power? I wish it was kind of like Absolute Power, where it was just kind of its own little mini series that sat on its own, written by one person. At least then it's consistent. So it's kind of weird. As an individual issue, I thought it was okay. I thought it was pretty good. But as part of the series of Kingdom of Zod, All right, last one we got is World's Finest, issue 54. This is written by Mark Waid, and this is not illustrated by Dan Mora. This one is illustrated by Bruno Frinda. And I thought it was done really well. Dan Mora did do the cover here. And I was immediately intrigued because we've got Superman and Batman playing baseball. This is what I love about World's Finest. It's just random stories like this. Like, what if they all played baseball in hell? Like, you can only get that out of a book like World's Finest. And I enjoy that. I really enjoy that. So, yeah, this is basically Batman and Superman get recruited along with some other Justice Leaguers to play a game of baseball in hell. It's a very loose reasoning as to why. And basically Nero, which I think is the stand-in for Lucifer in the DC universe, says, yeah, the world is breaking because the demons are praying, and we're going to play a game of baseball. If you lose, they'll keep praying and break the world. If you win, then they'll stop. And of course, there's always a catch with that. So yeah, so they have to play baseball in hell. And it's really well illustrated. I like that the different powers are displayed, even though it seems like it should be very off balance with Superman and the Flash on a team, but maybe they have their own speedster demons. So yeah, so it was fun. It was a nice break from just, everything is collapsing, everything is crossing over, and everything is dark and rebooting. And no, this is just World's Finest. We're on issue 50, and technically it should be like issue, 600, 700 legacy issuing. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. It's cheesy, but it's the good kind of cheesy. So I definitely recommend World's Finest. You can pick these up almost any time. So there are my books of the week. Like I said, there's nothing really that I was kind of like really super disappointed in. Just nothing that was going to make me remove from pool, but it was a little lackluster considering there was only 6 issues this week that I read, which for me is a little bit of a small week. So as far as top 3, we're going to go Lobo, Punisher versus Spider-Man, and World's Finest. And I think that's going to be the order as well right there. So best book of the week, Punisher versus the Amazing Spider-Man. Number 2, second best book of the week, Lobo, issue 6. And then third is World's Finest, number 54. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate your time and attention and your patience as I try to switch offices and studios and make things look nice again, and also have something a little bit more reliable for me to get stuff done. Like and subscribe for all that YouTube stuff so we can keep talking about comics and nerding out together and chatting in the comments. Do all the YouTube stuff, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Adios.